Hello, my name is Debbie. I'm Owlandgator Stitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 75. Today is Thursday, July 31st, 2025. This is a video usually about cross stitch. Sometimes I throw other things in. So welcome. It's been a couple of months since I've done a video. So if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for your patience. And if you're a new viewer, I hope you like what you see and stick around and click on that subscribe button. Life has been busy. Nothing in particular, good or, well, a lot of good, nothing bad, but just life has been keeping me busy. I will put all the personal stuff at the end. The only comment I will put is that one of the reasons why also was a delay in recording is I got a new laptop. The old one was just not working properly anymore, and it was frustrating me. It was functional, but when it just the keyboard stops working and all that kind of stuff, and you have to use it as a tablet, it's not the way I like to work. And so I decided to get a MacBook, and up until then, everything I've been using have been Microsoft products, whether it was at work or my personal life. So while the MacBook works great, it's just different. And so even recording, so if I do start to do little weird movements and stuff because I'm trying to figure out where I'm pointing, my apologies. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to something different, especially after you've been using something else for 30 years plus. And so also, if there are any issues with the sound or the picture or something, let me know so I can correct it in the next video. The other thing that inspired me to make a video this time is I was on a live stream with Siska Stitches, and she and then also James the PH Stitcher was on there, and they both were like, oh, come on, make a video, do a whip parade. And this is not a whip parade. This is a regular Flosstube video, but getting that little bit of encouragement, it's great. So I do love it when I get all the comments from you. It just inspires me to want to do more. So thank you so much for that. So with that, I am going to go ahead and just jump in to show you what I've been working on. I'm not going to show you everything because it has been a couple months, but I'll show you things that I got some good progress on. So the first thing I'm going to show you are two starts. So the first one is the woodpecker. This is from Cottage Garden Samplings, and I am on an auto ship for Year in the Woods 2. So I thought maybe I should get some more work into Year of the Woods 1. So this is the woodpecker. I am doing this on a 32 count linen color cashel from Picture This Plus. So I got a pretty good start on it. I am doing this is one of the fall patterns. See, this is where I'm having issues trying to make sure I get it in the frame the right way. And so I'm doing 3 on it. So this is the first one I'm doing for the fall. Oopsie. Okay, here we go. And that's what the woodpecker looks like. Okay. The next new start I had was Mirabilia, because apparently you can't have too many Mirabilias on the go. And I started Nightingale. So I love this one. I have to say I purchased it before, even though I know who Florence Nightingale is, I purchased it before I realized this was actually in tribute to Nightingale. But as I'm looking at the pattern and starting to stitch it, just realizing all the details, you can't really see it there. But like, she's got an armband here that's got a blue cross, not a red cross, but a blue cross. But it goes, just little details like that. She's got a lantern holding up in the night. And so I got about 1,000 stitches in this as well. I'm trying really hard on my new starts to get at least 1,000 stitches. So I have good progress. So whenever I come back to it again, I know where I am and all of that. So here's where I got to. So I did a center start on her. I have to say the view is backwards from what my previous camera was like. And so it's really freaky trying to get all of this in. So you can see here, I started the center because it's hard on a Mirabilia to start somewhere else in the center. This is a pre-cut fabric to the correct size, so I could have measured. So I did her dress, and I worked, and I wanted to get to sort of to her arms. So I have a little bit of skin 1/1 there, just a little bit to get it started. That's her forearm. So that is Nightingale. Next one is those are the 2 new starts I wanted to show you. The next picture I have, this is Anzac from Long Dog Samplers. I think most of you are familiar with this. Somehow it got separated from the pattern, but I'll pull this out. And here is where I am. So this time I hit the three corners. Even though this was a pre-cut fabric, Brick City, which is now going to become the common thread, is they will cut your fabric to whatever size you want, and they cut this for me, but I'm still paranoid. So I like to hit those three corners when I have fabric that is cut to size, just to make sure I've positioned it correctly. This is not quite a square. Oops. Goes like that. So basically, I did all the stuff. Oops. Down here. So I did this boat. I did the water down here. Where's the fishy? You can see the one little fishy I did there. There's a whole school of just backstitched fish. So I worked on that as well. And I actually took that as a travel piece. I was on a trip and I said, I'm just taking one whip. I'm tired of carrying everything. And so I took the one whip. It was great. It's easy to see because even though it is a smaller holes, it is just, I think it actually is a 32 count, so it's not small, but it's just very easy for me to see with the light fabric and the dark thread. All right, so at the end of May, I went to a retreat here in Florida, and it was hosted by Ann Williamson, and she had two designers there. One was Stacy Nash, and one is the Blue Flower. I love both of their designs, but as you know, the Blue Flower is one of my favorite designers, so I was so excited to meet her and just be stitching on a few of her patterns. So I took two that I had going. I've come to the conclusion I don't start projects at retreats. I mess it up. So I take what I'm doing. And I will say I struggled with both of these that I brought simply because the lighting itself was fine, but I just couldn't get the angle right, and it just wasn't working for me. So I didn't get a lot of stitching done at the retreat. I had a third piece, which I don't have here today, which was on Ada, which was much easier to stitch. So this is the Blue Flower. Let's see if we can get this. There we go. So you can see the picture better. The Gentle Rain. This is also one that's been a little bit slow for me, in addition to not being able to see at the retreat, because I sort of started it on a whim and I didn't really have the whole thing pulled together. And the fabric choice, like the colors just have, not that the colors haven't been working, that's not the right way to say it, but the colors have, I've had to make some substitutions and it's been a slow process as I go along with that. So here's where I am now. And so basically what I did at the retreat was I pulled it down, worked on the tree trunk, and then came down here and started working on the flowers down here. So here is the Gentle Rain. So I almost have that one tree done. So it's not that big of a pattern. So it's just some of my decisions have not been the best. And so trying to work around them, we'll keep going on that. All right. And then the other Blue Flower piece that I brought, this is Summer Squirrel. Again, a relatively small piece. And this I'm doing, it's a 32 count linen. I don't know the name of it. And here is where I am. So at the retreat, basically here we go. I worked on the squirrel, the back side of the squirrel, and sort of came and did that there. So fun. It was, again, great to meet Janine McGowan. So glad I had the opportunity. She walked around the room every day, saw what you were stitching, commented on it, chatted with everyone. She was lovely. Stacy Nash was lovely too. I didn't get a chance to chat with her as much. I think some of it because I wasn't working on her projects and whatever. I will say one thing about Stacy Nash that just sort of surprises me. She says she doesn't, I mean, obviously she has ideas for what she wants to stitch, but she doesn't design it, stitch. And now I know a lot of designers, as they're stitching, will make changes because they don't like the placement of something, or they realize the colors they had chosen don't quite work, but she doesn't do any of that. She has an idea and she just picks up her fabric and thread and stitches. And I just find that amazing. So, all right. And the next piece I have, I want to show you. This is Winter Wonderland from an old issue of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. And I basically, so here's what the whole thing looks like. And basically, I just wanted to get some progress on this one. I am doing a challenge. It's in one of my stitching groups. It's put in 2,025 stitches into 25 projects. And this was one of them. And I just kind of wanted to get some progress on it. And so I did. And so basically, that whole field of white, I mean, there may have been a few stitches. I put that in, and then the fence I needed just to hit the 2000. I need to put the fence in as well. You can see the negative space over here. Oops. Kind of see it there. That's where a reindeer will go. So enjoying that, but it's an older pattern, very hard to read, so it is normally one that I have to take kind of slowly. All right, the next piece I worked on was Water Goddess from Joan Elliott. And this, again, this is on a printed fabric, 32 count even weave. I don't know who the printer is, whose fabric it is. And here's where I am. So basically I worked along the bottom here, the bottom of the dress, was working here, came across to like the lily pad, sorry, the lily pad right here. And that is where I am. There's a lot of Kreinik in this piece. It wasn't this time. You can see a little bit of it here. It's hard to tell on the camera. That whole moon is Kreinik. So a lot of Kreinik. I'm fine with Kreinik. It just slows me down a little bit. And then what I have been working on recently. So I've been working on Titania from Mirabilia. I was gifted this whole thing and it was a kit. I will say, so Alara's got a funny story in her video. I mean, it's a while ago that she talked about it, but she didn't like the way that she sort of felt that Titania was sitting in space. So she had a friend of hers get special fabric for her, so it looked like that Titania was actually sitting on something on the fabric. And then after she did that whole thing, someone told her, you know that she's actually sitting on a rose. And you can kind of see the rose right there. I'm going to say I didn't see that it was a rose either until Alara told that story. So I love this pattern, but it was, you know, it's one of those when you start to look at it, maybe I eventually would have figured it out on my own. But here's now. I started, it was a middle start and I went down. So I did, let's see if I can fold this in a little bit. Like the whole sash area here, probably a little bit on the dress towards the bottom, and then over here, this part of the dress on the other side of the sash. So that is where I am for Titania. And then on the full coverage front, I am working on Sunset Koala from the Cross Stitch Studio. According to Pattern Keeper, I'm over halfway done because with the way that Cross Stitch Studio charted this, all that white part is stitched. Needless to say, I did not stitch it. So I am nowhere near halfway done for what I need to stitch, but according to Pattern Keeper, I am. So here is where I am. So this time I worked on the koala's head up here. So really worked a lot on his head and a little bit on his nose and eye as well. So that is Sunset Koala. Okay. The next one I worked on, or next one I'm showing you, these are out of order from how I worked on them, is all the I call them Stars Hollow. So these were 4 separate boxes you could get from the Black Needle Society. So I completed the autumn block here, and then so the next one I will work on is summer, and I have a teeny bit done of summer. And then here is winter. Here is spring. I should know all my seasons. I don't think you can get these anymore. I think Black Needle Society, for a while, they put them in their vault, and then once they're done, they're done. I'm honestly, I don't know, but I got them with the boxes. So, and here is where I am. So this time I worked on, the gazebo over here. And the reason why I've got a little bit done on summer was because the gazebo crosses over the 2 seasons, I figured I had all this stuff on my needle, might as well continue and to work on it. And then I came down here and worked. This is a person standing here, so on those little legs down there. So a lot of fun to work on this. This is just a 28 count linen. It's a very long piece. Normally, and I'm doing it 2/2. Normally I wouldn't stitch this kind of piece on that, but it fits so perfectly, so that's why I did it. Normally my full coverages I'm doing over 1, anywhere. I mean, I have someone on 14 count, but up to 25 count, and depending on the count, it's either 1 or 2 strands. Always full cross unless for some reason the pattern calls for something else. It's just the way I like to stitch. Next one I have is Let Freedom Ring, this gorgeous pattern from Leela Studio. I know there are quite a few people out there working on it who want to get it done by July 4th, 2026. Love this pattern, but I can guarantee I will not be one of those people that has this done by July 2026 because I like to work on too many different things. But it was great to pull this out in July and have some opportunity to work on it. So this time I worked on the American flag and those birds above it. I have to say, when I was looking at this on the pattern, so I have reading glasses right now. What I'm looking at on the screen is kind of blurry at this time. When I would look at the pattern with my glasses on, where you can see that word America, I knew what I was stitching, but it wasn't like, I had to follow it very carefully. I take my glasses off, and just the way the symbols were, I could read America no problem. And it just had to do with, because I stopped trying to read what the pattern was, and I started to just look at light versus dark, and then it just became crystal clear where it would go. So anyhow, I have the flag is not quite done, obviously. I have a few more of the red stripes to go there. And then here's the whole thing. So I am not quite to the bottom on this, but getting close. And my goal initially was just to get to the bottom, because I do have a lot of, that is close to the bottom, and I obviously have a lot of extra fabric, and I wanted to cut it off, but I did not, I just decided I wanted to go work up at the top instead. I wanted to sort of get moving and do more stuff on it that direction. Next one, this is Brownfish Owl from Kathy Barrick, and I started this a couple years ago with Beth, a steadfast stitcher, and I don't think either one of us is making blazing speed on it. It's a lovely, lovely pattern, but I think Beth started this when she was doing 60 and 60, and now she has a lot of lovely whips, works in progress, and I have a lot too, so I think neither one of us is moving really fast on it. This is not a true reproduction sampler. So which line is it? This line with all the fish, when it says stitched by, I think it's Margaret Emery, whatever name is in there. That's not a real person. And then there's a date on the line above it as well. And that was just a date that Kathy Barrick put in. So because it didn't mean anything, I decided I'm going to do this in honor of one of my grandmothers who loved birds. And so here's where I am now. So I did put my grandmother's birth and death years in there. That one line that is empty, that is where I will put in there, this is driving me crazy. I will put in there her name. I had it charted and it's in a notebook and I don't know where that notebook is. So I have plenty of time to find it. It's in this room somewhere. So what I really worked on this time was I worked more on that owl head. So I had, I think, the very top of the head done. So obviously I got the eyes and the beak and starting to come down a little bit on the head. So really fun stitch. Okay, the next one I have for you is White Owl. This is Artisy, artwork by Kayomi Harai. And I want to get this one done this year, which was averaging about 4,000 stitches a month. This month because of the way my stitching time worked out, I put in over 5,000 stitches. And now, because every month I was always doing a little, more than 4,000. I think it was like I needed 3,800 beginning of the year each month. I was putting in over 4,000. And then this month, I think I put in like 5,700 stitches or something. So really, by the end of the year, I only need 3,000 stitches a month if I want to finish it. And I probably will, as long as the momentum is there, we'll obviously do more. So this will probably get done well before the end of it will be done before December probably. So here is where White Owl is. And where I worked, that's the part I worked on. So I worked in this bottom corner over here. So obviously lots of blues and getting the flowers in. So that's part of the reason why I was able to stitch so quickly. It wasn't a lot of that detailed stitching like you see in the wings and stuff. I mean, yes, some of those flowers, there were color changes in it, but a lot of it was just 820 and 939. So not hard stitching. Okay, and the last piece I have to show you is my chatelaine. So I am working on Holland Springtime Garden Mandala. And I went to the chatelaine retreat in earlier this month in July, hosted by Maggie Kitschy Whips and Amy, Fiber Arts Amy, and also of Oak Run Studio. And it was such an inspiring, it was such an inspiring retreat. It was awesome. If you've gone to any of the Queen City Stitch retreats, this retreat was smaller than those. It only had about, I think 48 people who attended. And their other retreats, I think, were closer to 150. So this was smaller. It got just the people you were with and other people in the room. You just got a chance to know them a little bit better. And that was a lot of fun. So I will talk a little bit more about the retreat. But here is where I am. And you probably will not be able to see them very well. But let's see if I can get up close enough. You can see here, it's a Jessica stitch. There's an eyelet. Yeah, I'm just not showing up well on the camera. I'll just hold this up and talk. But most of this right now is cross stitch. The little pink dots that you're seeing, that is some satin stitch. Those are tulips. You'll see them much better once I get the backstitch stems and stuff in. But a lot of fun. Okay, that is all I have to show you of what I was working on. I am going to talk a little bit about the chatelaine retreat. I obviously have purchased things. I'm not going to show a haul in this video, simply because a lot of it's on PDFs and stuff like that. But I do want to talk a little bit about the chatelaine retreat, the Queen City Stitch retreat, and it was a lot of fun. Hosted, as I said, by Maggie and Amy in Charlotte, North Carolina. And basically, their retreats are in some ways low key. You can stitch on whatever you want there. There was one of the most stunning brag tables I've ever seen. If you want to see the items there, I recommend that you go to the Traveling Stocking Stitcher, Deb. She did almost like a 2-hour video on just the brag table. And the brag table was only chatelaines. And it was glorious. The pictures, I mean, this is the picture. in no way does it justice. And just sort of seeing the richness and the layers and how she used beads and specialty stitches and just the way she used color in order to create these designs, it was truly inspiring. And I think most of you know the designer behind Chatelaine, Martina Rosenberg, passed away, I think about 8 years ago. And her daughter is not a stitcher, but her daughter has kept the company going. So you can buy PDFs from the Chatelaine website. They are based in Germany, so the prices are in euros, but however you purchase it, they will convert the prices to your local currency if you are not in a Eurozone country. So a lot of fun. Part of this retreat was they had, I don't want to call them classes because it wasn't like we were sitting there, but beforehand you would choose a workshop for one of 4 stitches. And Martina Rosenberg at Chatelaine had designed patterns that allowed you to sort of practice some of the specialty stitches. So the 4 were, I'm going to get these Jessica, Rhodes, Rice, and Eyelets. And you selected ahead of time which workshop you wanted to do. And you got actually as part of your retreat package, you got that chart that for the class. And so I chose Jessica stitches. And so Katie Bean Van Eyck, I think that's her name, was the who sort of taught it. But literally, like the people who were teaching the workshops came around to every table, and so Katie came to mind. The difference was she was showing things from the workshop that I had right in front of me, where other people just were sort of watching what she was doing and they could practice. We got little practice pieces of fabric and teeny little hoops so we could practice these stitches. And Katie was a phenomenal teacher. She was patient and really did a good job of explaining. And those of you who have done Chatelaines know the instructions aren't always the best. Now, I don't know if that's just because the way that Martina's mind worked doesn't match our own, or if she's writing instructions in not her native language. I don't know what the deal is, but sometimes the Chatelaine instructions can be a little bit difficult to follow. And so Katie just sort of laid it all out and did a great job with that. Alma, Maggie, and Amy taught the other 3 workshops, and they came around to our table and certainly were willing to work with anyone. I did practice. I've done tons of eyelets before, so I didn't really need to practice that. But then I think it was, I can't remember if it was the Rice or the Road stitch, where I just found in my current pattern where there was one, and I practiced it. Pulling it from there and sort of was working with them on that. So that was really helpful, and I'm really appreciative of that. We also got a little coupon code, so a lot of us went and purchased more patterns from Chatelaine. And so as part of that as well, there was a smalls exchange. You could do anything. So I did a small Joan Elliott pattern. And what I got was this cute little biscornu. You can see the backside as well. I don't know the official name of this, but it's Dragons from Tiny Modernist. I mean, those are little dragons, and I know it's Tiny Modernist. So you can see on the backside, she put that there. She put in, I don't know if it's polyfill. It's much lighter than a lot of biscornus, but it's stuffed very well. But the weight is much less. Like I usually see them, I'm used to them with walnut shells, so they're quite heavy. But lovely stitching. It sits on my shelf over there, and I have put some pins in it, which I took out because if I left them in there, I would stab myself. So I just really, really enjoyed my time there, and their plan right now is to do the Chatelaine retreat again next year, but they're going to do it in a different format. It is going to be the same size as the retreat they do in the fall. But again, Chatelaine focused, but I don't think they're going to do all the workshops. We had some great swag. They actually got all of us a needle miner from Clay by Kim. So it's my first Clay by Kim because I am not the kind of person who's patient enough to wait till they drop and then rush in and try and get one. So I just, again, highly recommend if you have the means and the time to go to one of the Queen City Stitch retreats. Maggie and Amy do a fabulous retreat. The only other thing I have to show you is I did want to show you the pattern, one of the patterns I got at the retreat I went to in May with the blue flower and Stacy Nash. Both patterns were amazing. I put everything away. And so the only thing, I couldn't get my hands on the Stacy Nash ones. I put it in a box where I have other kits, and it wasn't popping up quickly. This came as a full kit, but I'm just going to show you the pattern. This is what we got for the blue flower. So Heart's Garden, another gorgeous, gorgeous pattern. So really excited about that. Oh, and actually going back to the Chatelaine retreat, I'm going to put my glasses on to find this. Here we go. This is the retreat pattern that we got for the Chatelaine retreat. Katie, who is Sosna Designs, designed this. And so obviously it's not a chatelaine, but it's inspired by that, like one of the tiles that Martina used to do. So Katie was inspired by it and did it. This is a picture of what she had, like that she had her stitch up there. And this is a picture of that. We did get the full pattern and kit and everything, but there was no cover photo. So I have to make do with this. Katie's stitching is impeccable. This pattern is amazing. So definitely a start in my future. All right, so that is all of the stitching talk. I'm just gonna hop in and talk a little bit about personal stuff, just what's been going on. Again, life has been good. No real reason beyond just sort of things keeping me busy, and the joys of trying to figure out a new computer. I'm sorry if this has been a little bit jumpy as a video quality. I'm learning how to do this, but I will say so. After I went to the retreat at the end of May, I had a relatively quiet June until I went with my mother. We went to go visit her sister, so my aunt, it's her twin sister, in California. So I went with my mother. My mom lives in the same town that I do. So I went with her, visited my aunt and obviously my uncle. And then two of their adult children also live in the same area they do. So I had a great hang with my cousins. One of them is married, and one of his kids was there. She's about to go off to college. My other cousin, two of her kids, so one is in college, so he was home for the summer. The other one is she was there, but she's working on her PhD, and I guess that she's in research time, so she was hanging out with mom for the summer, and so we just was great to see them. And then other than that, I went to the retreat in July. As I say every time, I'm also a volunteer with my friends at the library, so I've been doing a lot of work with them as well, gearing up for our next sale, which is in October. I'm in Florida. It's hot. The space is not air conditioned. So I spend a couple hours, even if I'm sitting in that space and not moving much. By the time I walk out, I am drenched. I've got my water, I've got my Gatorade, I'm staying hydrated. But it is like they have an air conditioned space where which is not where I can work per se. I mean, other people do bring stuff in there, but given what I'm doing, I really can't go in there and work. It's just the stuff I need to work with isn't there. And so I'll go in there and I'll sit for 10 minutes or so just to cool down, bring my regulate my body temperature. But then you walk back into the space, it's like getting into a hot car. It is stifling, and they've got huge fans. I mean, they extractor fans. I mean, they do everything they can to keep it cool, but it is hot. So I hope that wherever you are, you're managing to stay cool, unless you're in the southern hemisphere, and I hope that you're staying warm. And I will hope to be back in a month or so. And I am going to try and do a whipper parade. So we'll see if this filming came out okay. This is kind of the test case, and I hope to see you then. Bye-bye. Happy stitching.